Hi everyone, it's Leanne with Lovely Scrappin', and I'm here with a really quick tutorial. It's been a while since I've done a flower tutorial, but anyways, I'm going to be doing this book paper rolled rose tutorial. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I had posted a picture on Facebook and I had a few lovely ladies really want me to do a tutorial on how I make mine. Now there are tons of tutorials on YouTube on how to do rolled roses. It's nothing new, it's nothing that I've invented. It's just me simply doing a tutorial showing you guys and those who wanted me to do this tutorial how I do it. So because everybody has their own little twist on how they do things, right? So of course you're going to need book paper. This is just an idea of the different sizes that you can get when you're making them. You just want to play with it and see what you like, you know, best. I love to make a variety of different sizes to do in projects because you never know what size you're going to want in the project that you're doing. So to get a close-up view, if you see the inside, it tapers downward. So in this you can put a pearl, a flat back pearl in there if you like, or leave it as is. But you don't have to make them so they're tapered. If you want to make them so they have a flat top like this, you can do that as well. And I'll show you the cuts on both of those different ways of doing it. Okay, and then of course, depending on the size you want, you just you know, you roll it up tighter, or you let the rolls go to just go a little bit looser. You can make them, this one here I made thinner. So again, it depends on how you draw or how you cut out your spiral. So this one I had it narrow, so it was a lot of spiraling to do. And then these ones, for instance, are a lot higher up. So you can tell if you want something more flat, you can make them more flat. If you want them more dimensional, you can make them more dimensional. So that is just an idea of the variety that you can get from doing the same type of technique just by altering the way you roll it and the way that you cut it. So let's get started. So, of course, you're going to need some scissors. I love these type of tweezers that have this type of an end, if you guys can see that, because it makes the rolling a lot easier, and you'll see that in a second as I get started. You know, your book paper that you want to use, and you can, if you want color to it, you know, you can use your distress inks or mists or whatever, and you can alter this by inking it up or having it whatever color you want. And then I like to just grab something to use to draw my circle with. If you have a big circle for die cutting, you know, for your Sizzix or whatever, you can use that, your Cricut. I just like to use this because I just went around my craft room and I found a lid to some containers I had, and it just grabs the most of the text, so that's what I like. And now typically when I do this, you guys, I do multiple sheets of paper all at once, but because it's just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to do one paper. But just to give you an idea, like here's one I had cut out already, right? Like I took a whole bunch of papers and then I just cut out the circle, and then when I cut out my spiral, I do it all together. So then I've got this big stack of spirals and I can just go to town making a bunch of rolled roses, okay? So that's a tip that you guys can do if you're wanting to make a bunch all at once. It just saves you a lot of steps. Okay, so for this one here, first thing I'm gonna do is just draw the circle and cut it out. And you're gonna wanna heat up your hot glue gun in the meantime. If you don't like hot glue, you can use whatever other adhesive you like if you just don't mind waiting a little bit longer for it to dry. Okay, so there's my circle, and then you just cut it out. Oh, and this circle I measured, sorry, it's about 4 3/8 in size. But again, it doesn't matter. If you have a bigger book page, then you can do an even bigger flower. So the bigger the circle, obviously the more coils you're going to have, and the bigger the flower can be potentially. I'm also going to show you a tip when you do multiple stacks of paper on how to use this part. I'll show you that after. So stay tuned if you're interested on making a little something extra. Okay guys, so now some people can, and they like to draw the spiral, and I'll do it for this and then but okay, normally you guys, I don't draw a spiral because when it comes to cutting, I never follow the spiral. I end up just going by eye, you know, like I like to just judge the distance from the edge and cut according to that. So I just eyeball it. I don't like to draw, and that's just my personal preference. Everybody's a little bit different. You also want to choose the side that has the most text too when it comes to having that side as the open part of the flower. But you can do that after you've done your spiral. So anyway, so if you're going to draw it, you're going to want to start in the center. I'm horrible at drawing the spiral too anyway. And again, now this depends, now I'm going to draw a couple just to show you. So this one here, the way I'm judging the distance, it's totally not even that even. So anyway, so like that would be a wider flower. If you wanted to do a flatter flower, then you're going to want to do a tighter coil, okay? So you're going to be doing, you know, your distance between the lines are going to be a lot closer if you're going to have a flatter flower, okay? So that's just an idea. If you want a really wide flower, then you're going to have a really big distance, okay? So I'll just show you the way. Now, of course, if you've done your spiral, you're going to cut along the lines of the spiral, okay? But I'm just going to do it the way I like to do it because I'm horrible with, you know, doing the spiral thing. So what I do, and I also I draw my spiral like this, so I end up over here, which means I would need to cut the opposite way that I'm used to cutting, if that makes any sense. So that's why I like to do it this way, because I love to cut this way. I just have better control because I'm right-handed. So anyways, I'm going to start here. Now this is with the tapered inside, okay? This is how you're going to cut it. You're just going to start out here and gradually go thicker and thicker until you get to the desired width of like the height of the flower that you're going for, okay? So I tend to do mine about like this. And all I'm doing is judging the distance from this edge to how far I'm cutting, okay? So I just kind of try to make it even, and if it's not completely perfect, it really doesn't matter because it doesn't show up. It really doesn't make a difference that much when you're rolling up your flower anyway. You really don't notice it. So all I'm doing is continuing to judge the distance from the edge of my paper and cut inward. And remember, when I'm doing this, I usually have like 10 papers when I'm doing it, so that I'm holding it really tightly so they don't shift. Okay, and when you're getting to the center, you're going to want to just go in enough to just have a little bit of a, this is going to be like the base of, see when you go like that, that's going to be where your flower sits. Going to be the base of it, okay? So here's your spiral, and if you've done multiple pages, you've got like 10 or 15 of these. And just a tip, okay, don't try to separate them all at once if you've got a big stack because they get all tangled up. Just when you've got your stack together, just take off the top. I usually pull it from the center and pull it up like this, and then take one at a time that way, just so you don't tangle them all up. I've done that and I destroyed like a whole stack because they ripped. So there's just a tip, you guys, if you're doing a stack of them, okay? All right, so here is your spiral. Now you're going to take your tweezers and you're going to start at the end, and this is the way I like to do it because I'm going to go to the very tip, okay, so you guys can see that, the very tip, and start rolling inward like that. And I'm only going to go a couple times, and then I'm going to pull my tweezers out ever so carefully, and then I'm going to re-grab it, but not the same way, because I find that when I do it this way, rather than keeping it in the whole time and then wrapping it around, I find when I pull my tweezers out, the entire center comes out with it, and it ends up being a big mess. So by doing it this way, it just allows it to be a bit looser and easier for me to take it out. So you don't have to do it this way. You can just grab it and twist it and go along. So that's up to you. So now this is going to be the top of the flower. This is the bottom part that's going to be glued down, okay, you guys? So this part is going to be facing away from me as I'm twisting, and this part goes so quickly. All I do is kind of keep my finger at the bottom so it doesn't start rolling out this way, just to kind of keep it flat, and I just hold it here and I just twist. Make sure it's focused. Okay, you guys can see that? So all I do, and you want to be careful, you don't twist too hard, you don't want your paper to rip. But this part just pretty much, after practice, you guys, it might take a few times, so it might not be perfect. Your flower may look a little funny the first time you do it, but really, I've done so many of these, so now they just turn out all pretty much the way I want them to turn out. Okay, so all I'm going to do is hold my finger here so it's staying nice and flat for the most part, and just wrapping it around and around and around. As you get closer to the end, it's going to be a bit more difficult to keep it nice and straight, but that's okay. Just continue to wrap it up. Okay, so as you can see, here's getting to the end, and all I do is kind of go like this and stop there. Now if you want to make it tighter, you just hold this and twist this a bit, just like you're cranking an arm of something, okay? And then I'm going to stop and then just This is how I try to do it so that my center does not pop out. And because I've tightened it, it makes it more difficult to take out the top, okay? But I hold my thumb down right against the edge of this so the center doesn't come out with my tweezers when I pull them out. And if it's hard to pull out like this is, I just let it uncoil a little bit. And then it just pops out like that, okay? So now, depending on the size of the flower you want, I always like to hold the base down with my finger, this finger here, because I don't use it as much. So I'm just gonna kind of try to hold down the center and let it spiral and push the center down because it tends to like to pop up. So I just push the center down like that. So now you can take a look and see, okay, do I want my flower to be that big or do I want it to be a little bit bigger? I think I'll let mine be a bit bigger, so I'm gonna let it uncoil just a little bit more, push down the center, and that looks to be about the way that I want it. Maybe a bit bigger. Okay. So that's pretty much what it looks like. So now what I do is I hold the center down, I pull this back. So I like to have this part facing away from me because it's just easier to maneuver. So I've got the flower in my hand. All I'm going to do is put a bit of glue here. You don't want to put too much down, just enough. You can always secure it after if you didn't put enough down. And then I'm just going to pop that down and then push down all of my edges, okay? Just like that. And for this part, I'm going to just put it down a little bit like that. You can always play with the edges to the way you want it, okay? Because this one was sticking out a little bit. You can even go in and cut it afterwards. But I'm just going to glue it down so it just doesn't show as much. And I'm going to take my scissors. Some you don't even have to do this because they turn out so well. Some have little edges popping out a bit and they just need to be trimmed a bit. So anyways, you guys, that is how you do one with the tapered center, okay? So this is a kind of a medium-sized one. If you want one that doesn't have the tapered center, this is how you're going to cut. So instead of starting your cut and going like how we just did it, you're going to pretty much go straight in like that, okay? Make a cut like that and start your spiral like this. And again, depending on how high you know, how dimensional you want your flower, you do this thicker or thinner, it doesn't matter. Okay, now at this spot, because that's cut like that, I'm just going to take this and just sort of gently cut in until it meets that point, okay, so that I don't have that funny edge sticking out. And then you just continue to cut around in a spiral shape. Okay, so that is the way it's going to look if you don't want a tapered edge. So then you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to grab your tweezers like that and then start your spiraling, okay? So I'm not going to go ahead and do that one because it's the exact same process, but that's how you're going to do it so you don't have a tapered inside. So I just wanted to show you quickly how I use when I, you know how I was mentioning cutting out multiple pages and how I recycle this bottom part. So what I do is I like to make cute little mini books. You guys can see that? So obviously these don't have the cover on it. You know, you can do little chipboard covers and little spines, add spines, or you can do canvas covers or whatever you want to make cute little mini books. And I've done a few in my configuration boxes if you guys have seen that in the past. And you can make bigger ones, you could make smaller ones, whatever you like. So what I do is I just, you know, and you can make two sets. I had already done a set from the top of this paper. But anyway, you just cut along the top and hold these really good because there's multiple pages in here. And then just cut along here. And again, make it as big as you want. Doesn't have to be perfect. I trim it up afterwards so that the pages are more even. And then what I do is I fold it in half. And then I cut this. Then I fold it in half again. And then I use that fold as a guide to put my staples in. I use Depending on the size of the book, you can do 1 or 2 staples or however many you like. It's all going to get covered anyway. And then to close the book, I like to punch a staple in the center here. That's funny, see, I probably would have not kept that page, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Or maybe I'll just take it out right now. There we go. Not that this one's going to be seen anyway. So then all I do to keep the book closed, and you can glue every page if you want, or have it an open book, however you want. You guys, it's totally up to you. All I do to keep the book closed is just put a staple in there, and then I just trim up these edges so they're fairly even. Doesn't have to be perfect. Usually I take my distressing tool or my scissors and I rough up the edges anyway to make it look a little bit more aged of a book, more distressed. But anyways, so you guys can get an idea on what you can do with the scraps if you've cut multiple circles. So anyways, guys, I hope that was helpful. So anyways, guys, that's how I make my fun book pages rolled paper roses. And you know, you don't have to use book pages, you can use any kind of paper, but or any type of designed paper, pattern paper. You can print off, you know, regular computer paper with a pattern on it, or if you don't have books that you want to destroy, just print off a bunch of text on you know, computer paper from your computer, and it's nice and thin paper so that you can do the same thing with it. So anyways, guys, give it a whirl if you haven't already. Super, super fun. And then of course you can make your little mini booklets out of the excess paper. And you know, make your own little cover as well. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. I hope you give it a try. Thanks for watching. Bye now.